I still feel, excited to go out on the court with the best players in the world, and these young guys that are super hungry, and they want to take the scalp and they want to win against you on the biggest stage, and that also kind of pushes me to I guess exert even more energy for myself and show them that I'm still there.
He certainly is. Hi, everyone. I'm Chris McKendry with Patrick McEnroe, Chris Everett, and Cliff Drysdale. This is a championship weekend lineup. Welcome and good morning. Welcome to breakfast at Wimbledon. Novak Djokovic, he knows they're looking for a scalp. Wow, when you say it that way. What will determine how long he can hold off this young wave of players?
I think it's more physical than mental at this point, because mentally he's so tough, he's so strong, he loves these situations. It seems like now with Roger retired, Nadal obviously injured throughout much of this year, that he's more, if possible, he's more motivated than ever. And of course, he had these great rivalries. Chrissy knows about that better than any of us up here. But it seems like now with the young guns coming, Chrissy, it seems like he's more relaxed. I know you always talk about the pressure, how intense it is. He's been there so many times. But he seems as relaxed as he's ever felt going into these huge matches in these huge tournaments.
I think you're right. I think with the other two GOATs not playing, it's like it leaves an opening for him. To me, there has been no indication that he is going to let down, that he's going to let these young players beat him. That nobody can beat Novak in 5 sets, okay? I mean, he manages himself. He has such great technique that it doesn't break down under pressure. And that's when it usually breaks down. And of course, we know he's superior mentally and emotionally than all the players.
Interesting. Patrick says that it's all about the physical. If it's all about that, then Novak is going to continue, in my opinion, because he has kept himself in such great shape. Chrissy, I want to just switch for a moment, because we're talking about he's going for 35. Well, you got to 34. And when I just said to you moments ago, I said, well, weren't there some of those 34 that were kind of, easier than others? And you responded in a way that I thought was magical. What did you tell me?
I don't remember what I told you. The pressure is unlike anything you've ever experienced, as an athlete. I mean, it's phenomenal. And I feel like every day since I retired, I'm on vacation. That's what you want.
We feel like we're on vacation with you, okay? But I do think that for Djokovic, when you look at him now, you look at how good he is, because he's taking care of himself. He knows how to manage himself now through the course of the year, to where he's just trying to focus on the majors. But I don't see anything about what you're talking about, Chrissy, with him, meaning the mental side of it. He is as hungry as he's ever been. So that's why it's going to be whether he starts to get injured a little bit, whether he loses a step, which incredibly he hasn't seemed to have done. And when you look at Alcaraz and Sinner, guys that are taking the game to another level with their intensity of speed and power off the ground, he seems like he's been able to not only keep up with that, but actually still beat those guys in those departments, the physical departments, when it matters the most. That's what I'm going to be interested in seeing this weekend.
Yeah, Chrissy, you have often talked about when we see a player go out and play a teenager, and it's been a discussion lately because a lot of young women, a lot of young teenagers, especially with someone like Coco Gauff coming through and pushing. You said, playing the teenagers is so hard. Tell me, when you're on the top, when you're a Djokovic and a young phenom starts coming along and they're the real deal. This isn't just a good player having a good match, but this is the next great thing. What does that feel like, and how does that affect you?
Well, I went through that with Tracy Austin, with Steffi Graf, with Monica Seles, all when they were 16. But especially Tracy, I remember she beat me 5 times in a row. And I was playing her for the 6th time at the U.S. Open. And I remember thinking, she does everything better than I do. A little bit better. She had my kind of game, but she was a little more eager, a little quicker. And I walked into the player room and I saw Pam Shriver's coach, Don Candy. And Don said to me, "How you feeling?" I said, I'm feeling great. And he goes, "How are you going to play her tomorrow?" And I said, "I'm just going to play my game." He goes, "Then you're going to lose." And I said, "What do you mean?" Right. And he goes, you're not going to play. You've played your game the last 5 times and you've lost. You got to play out of the box, okay? You are great defense. You're a great counterpuncher. You have got to be the aggressive one when you play Tracy. So you have to change your game. You have to come to the net. You have to drop shot. You have to try to put away her second serves. You have to dictate every point. And I'm like, oh,
well, how
do
am
I
I gonna
have
do that?
to do that?
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, I went out and played her. In the first set, I lost 6-4, but I did it. And I was like 2 points from really winning that set, but I did it. And I kept doing it. And I kept doing it. And I won 6-1, 6-1. And after that match, I never lost to Tracy again. Because I changed my game. So what these young players make you do, they make you find another level of your game.
And I think what it makes Djokovic so spectacularly good now is that he's had Federer and Nadal that chase them down for so many years. So he was forced throughout his entire career to improve the second serve, to get the mental side better, to play the backhand slice, to come in, to play with more variety. And all those things make him, at the moment, seemingly unbeatable, particularly here at Wimbledon on this surface.
You're making it sound like he is unbeatable and that these guys, these kids have got no chance, and I don't agree with that. I think that we're close to the changing of the guard, much closer than anybody at this table seems to
for a
think.
while.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I don't think this tournament.
Good morning, John.
How are you? I've been here 45 minutes and no
Looking
one's
for
touched
food.
anything.
No,
I've had 2 of these already.
We wait for you.
Here,
Dig
thank
in.
you.
We give you
And you
first
two
choice.
look outstanding. I was going to wear this great
Pink?
red shirt. No, I was going to wear red, but you
that
got that
clash.
peach thing with that
Thank you.
cool looking. It looks like a tie almost.
Thank you.
It's part of the blouse, right?
It's championship weekend. Ready to
Beautiful.
go. Ready to
I'm
go.
like the
Chris.
menacing Djokovic, you know. Here I
Yeah,
come
the
again.
dark
I'm
man in
around
black.
Again, the man in black, the
black
Johnny
hat.
Cash of tennis.
That's what he's been in the Big Four, at least. That's the role he's been cast in. Right now,
The
he's
villain.
cast in, he's the leader, chasing only history, but looking back on what the other 3 have done for his career.
Well, my motivation is always present. I think it's important to draw your motivation from other things than the players that you're facing or your biggest rivals. Of course, that it feels a bit strange not having Nadal and Federer, who are without a doubt my biggest rivals throughout my career. We know that Roger retired last year, and then Rafa obviously struggling with his injury and announcing that it might be his last season next year. It's a strange feeling, I must say. I was saying in Paris that when I heard that news also from Nadal, that I kind of part of me was like, okay, what's happening? I'm not used to this. So they were, and they are, a huge driving motivational factor for me.
His motivation's gone now, Chris. He doesn't care about winning anymore.
Move on. Next. I mean, rivals, they do bring out something in you. How did
Well, Chrissy
a
played
rivalry-
Martina 80 times, so if anyone knew anything about rivalry, please feel free to entertain the audience
talk
for
first.
2.3 minutes before we have to come.
Yes, I think the beauty, when I think about you and Bjorn, and I think about Martina and myself, I think of contrast. I think the personalities are different. You're a little different than Bjorn.
We're very similar off the court, actually.
Okay.
But
okay.
I get your
there
point.
you are. Okay. So why don't you talk
Finally,
this through?
I get to see some footage of me winning something. Actually,
You go ahead.
that
Talk
was
about your
another-
rivalry.
I love rivalries. I think it's extremely important for tennis. That's the problem right now. We don't have an American that's up there with Djokovic or the other guys. So we.
It's my turn.
Oh,
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. God, I didn't know it was that quick.
Okay. Well, we played 80 times, so I'm going to really be quick about this. We lifted each other's games. We improved each other's games. And with Martina, I think what she did for me when I was losing to her is I had to step it up and I had to learn how to volley more. I had to, get rid of that fear of coming into the net and being embarrassed by missing volleys. So I came into the net, tried to beef up my serve more. Martina, I think that I taught her, I think
You didn't like her, though, did you? Like when you were playing? I mean, because now you're so.
Well, let me tell you what I think I influenced her with the mental side of the game and to stay calm and just to control her emotions. Our relationship was very up and down during our career, but we always respected
What was
one
the
another.
high point
Always.
and what was the low point of your relationship, if you had to pick a
Well, I
time?
think like the last 5 or 6 years, we finally came to a truce where we knew that our rivalry was really important to the game. And I think that we knew that maybe that was even bigger than each other individually.
Yeah.
But I mean, going back to Martina and I think that she really inspired me to go to the gym and do weights and get stronger physically, because if you look at our pictures, I was nowhere near her as far as physicalities. And I think that I helped her with the intangibles, which was just calming down and not getting so emotional on the court. Now, what about you and Bjorn?
Well, I think I was going to ask you what other rivals you had, because I was fortunate enough to have 3 or 4 of them. I had Bjorn, obviously, was my greatest one. We only played 14 times. Jimmy Connors was probably number 2. We played 33 times. And
Wow.
Yvonne Lendl and I played 36 times.
Oh, didn't realize that.
So those would be the top 3, but I think it's extremely important in an individual sport that you sort of, when you walk out in that court, that's why we're praying that Alcaraz is the real deal. But there's such an age gap between the two
Yeah.
that the best case scenario is 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
But how about Alcaraz and Sinner? Could that be the next great thing? I asked Alcaraz if you had to pick a Nadal to your Djokovic or Nadal to your Federer, whatever it might be. He said Sinner.
He did say Sinner. Runa has got some work to do. He would be the next guy. And then me, I know I'm being a little bit selfish here, but we need like the Ben Shelton, we thought. Could he be in the mix? Well, he's fallen flat. That's why we're so high in Chris Eubank. Tiafoe. We need an American to be right there with those 3 guys in order for our sport to get back really on track.
You know what
in
the
my
other
book.
great thing of a rivalry is for the game of tennis, for the spectators, you bring your own set of fans to the court. Like Martina had her own set of fans that were really rooting for her. I had my own set of fans. And pretty soon, you have so many people that are deeply involved in the rivalry and deeply invested in it, and you have more people watching the game of tennis.
If they want a real rivalry, okay, the Sinner, Alcaraz, he talks to, they got to step up now, and the Sinner's got to, hey, time to show what you got. 2 sets to love last year. You were there. You felt like, hey, maybe I can win. Djokovic turns it around. He's got to beat Djokovic.
Yeah.
These guys have to beat these guys, or else it's not.
For
Like,
a real
it's-
rivalry, you have
it's-
to start playing each other,
We
right?
have to play
need
each
those
other, but you also have
head-to-head
to win the
matchups.
big ones. It's one. Well, we played each other in the quarters of December. We lost to Djokovic. That's not really the big.
Right
big
now,
rival.
Novak is dominant.
Right.
Right,
His rival
right
is
now.
history right now. That's
Yeah.
what he's chasing.
Yeah.
That's his big rival. Thanks, you two. Cliff Drysdale's back with us, and Patrick McEnroe. He's looking at 24 Grand Slam titles possibly by the end of the weekend, 8 at Wimbledon, tying him with Roger Federer. And as you two know, that means for the second time in 3 years, he will head into New York with a calendar Grand Slam intact. Cliff, how's he doing this?
Before we go there, has he ever been at a loss for words? You've interviewed him a few times,
Yes.
Chris, and I am so amused and amazed by his articulateness. It's not English, not his first language. He never is short for an answer, and a relatively intelligent one too.
And I sometimes joke with him that even when he doesn't have an answer, he's making something up, and it's so good, I just let it go.
But you know what? but you know what? Watching that piece, it hit me that not only is he distancing himself from Roger and Rafa, or he's hoping to go 2 more ahead of Rafa if he could win this Wimbledon title, but he also is becoming really the spokesperson for the game, isn't he, in a lot of ways? Because he shared that for so many years, and in a way, it was always Roger, Rafa ahead of them, not only in the Grand Slam tally, but also in being sort of the spokesman for tennis. And I think he's relishing this now, Cliff, that he's the guy. He's always been incredibly smart. He's always been articulate, but he is just taking it all in. He's, as he said, he loves being the man, and he loves being the guy now that everyone wants to hear from, because he was not always that guy, even though he was right there on the tennis court with his 2 big rivals.
Really good point. I think he likes to be a spectator of his own genius. Talking about his genius, look, the great thing about his ability on grass is just the variety of his game, and the fact that there is very little that he cannot do. Just a few examples here from him. It's the serve +1 that you guys talk so much about, Patrick. There it is, the 1. So now he's got to hit this one as the serve +2, I guess, in this case. But he is always always moving. He's always thinking one step ahead of everybody else. That's the slice serve. Now it opens the court. There's the +1. Clean winner. While you're trying to figure out what you can do to counter this excellent play from Novak, he just continues to roll.
And he continues to improve, and I think that's what's amazing. And I use the word he can calibrate his shots better than anyone. What do I mean by that? He can flatten it out. He can play with a little more spin like he did on that forehand. And because he's continued to add to his game, you're right. On this surface, he's even more of a favorite on grass because he can do all those things. And to be quite honest, a lot of other players can't do all those things. So there's a lot of big hitters out there that play great on hard court. This is why, to me, these next couple of days, and today was Sinner, and then either whether it's Alcaraz or Medvedev in the final, to see how much these guys can play on this surface, how much they've improved. Because over the years, Novak's just added and added to his repertoire. That's why at this tournament now, he's utterly dominant.
Patrick, I wonder if, you're talking about surfaces, if you absent Rafa Nadal at the French Championships, don't you think that Novak would have won quite a few more there in Paris, too?
Well, so would have Federer would have won a lot more there without that Rafa and Nadal. We can make the same arguments about the other guys, but it is amazing that these three guys have been so good, and now he's there. Yeah. He just keeps wanting more.
And if he wins, I'll speak to him again, probably previewing the final. My first question: do you enjoy being a spectator of your own genius? Cliff Drysdale.
Chris,
that is a Cliff line, and I'll never forget it.
When last did he lose here at Wimbledon? I mean, he's won it the last 4. He's won it 7 total, the last 4 times here on the center
10
court.
years ago on center court. He did lose on court 1.
Yeah.